Good evening. I'd like to call to order the February 16th, 2021 meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals to order. If I could get a roll call.
Melissa Mullins-Mishke.
Here.
Dwayne Hogan.
Here.
Glenn Minnick.
Here.
Adam Karanka.
Here.
Greg Zabala.
Here.
And second item on the agenda tonight is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please rise. Mr. Hogan, would you lead us, please?
You bet. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And I think next on the agenda will be holding elections for the 2021 board.
I'll go ahead and start off since that's first. I'll go ahead and make a nomination for Melissa to be retained as president for the next calendar year.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor for myself to stay president, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. All right, one more year. So I will open up nominations for vice president.
I'd like to nominate Dwayne Hogan.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second for Dwayne Hogan as vice president. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Thank
Hearing
you.
none, congratulations. And then
Do we have to
attorney.
see Doug? Yeah. Just to make sure we have everything legal, I'd like to make the motion too to retain Doug Beege for our attorney for the next calendar year. And thank you for all the work you do.
I'll second that as well.
So we have a motion to retain Attorney BG and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, congratulations, Attorney BG.
Thank you.
And I want to welcome Mike Poland, the new building commissioner, to the meeting. This is his first zoning appeals meeting, so welcome.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you on board.
All right. I like it.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion for the approval of the meeting minutes from the January 19th meeting.
I'd be glad to as well. I'd like to make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as read and presented, and a very nice job. Actually, thank you again.
Agreed. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, meeting minutes passed. We have to put these off the table.
Yeah.
So petition number 1 this evening is a petition for variance of developmental standards for Craig Beckwith and Ellen Thomas for construction of a 40-foot by 60-foot pole barn without a home on the property. The property is located on the corner lot next to 3061 East, 300 South, LaPorte, Indiana, Pleasant Township, zoned R1A on 2 acres.
Thank you.
And I will entertain a motion to remove this from the table.
I'd like to make a motion to pull this one, 1, 2, and 3, all three at the same time off the table so we can be heard tonight.
I have a motion. Do I have a second for all 3 petitions to be removed from the
I will
table?
second the motion.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Sorry.
All right. Petition number 1, are you here with us? Good evening.
Attorney, is everything okay? Paperwork?
Oh, we're gonna wait and make sure all your paperwork's okay with our attorney before we get started.
adequate.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Beckwith, why don't you tell us a little bit about the nature of building the pole barn before the home?
Well, it's more or less the fact of getting things ready to build a home. And the way lumber and everything's going up, I figured if I put a pole barn up there, place to store it, keep it inside, protected, I could go ahead and start stocking stuff up in there. So when I do get ready to build the home, I've got a lot of materials that I've been looking for.
What kind of time frame do you anticipate the home being built? How long before you get started?
Well, within the next year or two, after I get this pole barn up.
And when do you think you would, if you were approved this evening, when would you start construction on the pole barn?
It's pretty hard to say the way guys are tied, the way the people are tied up. A couple people I had in mind, I hadn't got back with them because of this delay that we went for 3 months now, and but as soon as I find out something, I'll get a hold of him, and I'm really looking at maybe June. As soon as the weather gets broke, or we can get in there and at least prep the property to get it straightened around so he can go in there and do what he's gotta do.
So starting in June for the pole barn, and then after it's completed, another year before you start construction on the home?
Well, I'm saying a year, yeah, year to two. It shouldn't be any more than 2 years.
Do you plan on putting water and electric in the pole barn?
No. Not at the present, no.
Okay.
And it's just planning on having a gravel floor and get it sealed up good enough where, you know, the weather doesn't get to anything that's in there and locked up. And
Okay, before we hear some more questions from the board, are there any remonstrators this evening for petition number 1? Anyone either for or against petition number 1?
A little hard to hear you folks.
Any remonstrators for petition number 1?
Can you hear any of us?
I can hear you
Can you
just
hear us?
fine. You might want to check the volume on your speakers or your computer.
I can hear everybody.
Great, thank
I
you.
can too. Yeah.
So are there any remonstrators, anyone either for or against petition number 1? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go ahead and continue questions from the board.
Could we hear again?
I can't hear anything. You're cutting out, sir.
Hear me now?
Do you think he should rejoin the meeting sometimes? Okay, so there are a couple of options. If you're having trouble, you might try exiting the meeting and rejoining the meeting. Or you might type in your question in the meeting itself, and our secretary can read that question out loud for you. But I would like to move on unless you are a remonstrator for petition number 1.
Okay.
So other further questions or comments of the board? And we'll see if he's remonstrating.
He
This-
said, can you repeat question number 1?
Are you,
Question number 1, we're gonna add water or electric.
I don't know which question.
So what's, question 1 was, are we gonna add water or electric to your pole barn?
no,
Thank you.
So that's a nice rural lot out there. I think the history on that lot was it used to be one lot, but there was plenty of acreage there, so it was split. It was a horse property at one time, but I mean, there's homes in that area. It's good use. No reason not to, as long as, again, I can see his problem is we let him, start building a pole building, and that could take a year, and then he needs some time to get somebody to build a home. We have to kind of adjust our time frame that we've thought of in the past at this point to give him time to build that home.
Anybody else? Questions or comments?
Did you say you had a builder picked out for the pole barn already?
I've got 2 of them picked out, but I haven't got back with them. One of them's been beating on my door for the last 3 months, but I just told him, I'll get back with you.
Okay.
I mean, we all get 100 phone calls a day from everybody, and I'm tired of that, and I told him, I said, I'll just call you when I know yes or no.
Okay, that's fair.
That's what's happened there. And the other guy was real busy. He said, give me a call back after the first 3 years, so,
We don't have any pictures or anything either, just to be straight. Will you be using 300 South as your frontage and the barn would be in the rear?
The frontage would actually be on the same, I'm lost when I know it's at 300 and 300, but I'm lost on which which street is in front of where the pole barn's at. The pole barn's at the back of the property, will be at the back of the property.
Mr.
And that-
Beckwith, we do have a photo if you'd like to approach. Maybe you can take a look.
And that's where I would.
Melissa? He said, can we table this till we can all be there, but I don't think he's here for this petition, just so you're aware.
Did you type to him?
I did, I said we were on petition number 1 for Craig Beckwith.
It would be on South 300 East, would actually be the frontage, I guess, of the property.
300 South, the road that runs east
You also
to
have
west.
300 East that runs right next to it.
Yeah, but there's not enough depth for him to put a pole barn in the back.
Would you show him the sketch, Mr. Beckwith?
So this, there's a home right here, and this would be 300
Yeah,
South. Would be,
but the pole barn would be right back there.
sure, so it'll be in the rear of the
Yes,
property.
yes, sir.
Right. We just want to make sure we all
Yeah.
know what's going
Yeah.
on. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you can return to the podium. Do you need that back?
I shouldn't need that back.
So we have determined that the pole barn before this home will be in the rear of the property, correct?
Based off the sketch, yes.
See what I mean?
Thank you.
Right. See that?
You want this back?
I'll take it back, sir.
See any problem with it?
Okay, are there any further questions from the board? Hearing none and seeing no remonstrators come forward for petition number 1, I will entertain a motion.
Okay. May it please the board, I'll go ahead and make the first motion for it. Petition for a variance of developmental standard for Craig Beckworth and Ellen Thomas for construction of a 40 by 60 foot pole barn. I hope that's big enough. Without a home on the property first. This property is located in a corner lot next to 3061 East, 300 South. That's in LaPorte Pleasant, zone R1A. It's on 2 acres. B, go ahead and be granted.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Good luck, Mr. Beckwith.
Thank you.
Make sure you come to the building department and get your permit when you're ready to do the pole barn.
Excuse me, we didn't put a time frame on it though, but on
On the barn, on the house.
the house. Yeah. That's my fault.
That's okay.
Well, we're gonna have to,
Well, you said 2 years, right?
yeah, 1 to 2. Okay, petition number 2 this evening is a petition for variance of developmental standards for Larry Poole, seller, and Walter Smyers, buyer, for placement of an RV for temporary dwelling purposes, will be constructing a home.
Thank you. Sorry.
The property is located between 9854 and 9722 North, 500 West, Michigan City, Indiana, Springfield Township, zoned R1B on 5 acres. Petition number 2, are you here with us?
Why was that tabled?
Petition number 2, are you here with us?
Probably tried to dig out to get here.
Try to think why we tabled this, because they didn't show. That's what she said.
They weren't here last month.
All right. All right, that's not the one I was thinking about then.
You think they are on? Petition number 2, if you could please let us know you're on the call. I'll need you to state your name and address for the record.
They're on mute.
Okay, well, since I don't hear anyone responding for petition number 2, Larry Poole and Walter Smyers, we're gonna move you down to the end of the list. Petition number 2.
Very good.
Okay, so number 2 is gonna go to the bottom. Petition number 3 this evening is a petition for variance of developmental standards for Mark A.
I'll move it.
Glenn thinks someone's trying to speak, but I can't hear
This is the guy in the
anything.
middle with the hat?
He's muted. That's not the guy.
Okay. We tried.
Okay, so petition for variance of developmental standards for Mark A. and Julie M. Schroeder, seller, and Aaron M. Agner, buyer, to split a property in two. The parent parcel will have over 1 acre and 200 feet of road frontage. The new parcel will have 100 feet of road frontage instead of the minimum 200 and 0.59 acres instead of the minimum 1 acre. And for construction of a residence on the new parcel. The property is located at 7867 South Wellsboro Road, Union Mills, Indiana, Noble Township, zoned R1B on 2 acres. Petition number 3, are you here with us?
I'm here.
Wonderful. We're going to wait for the legal work to be okayed?
Notice is adequate.
Thank you. Would you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Mark Schroeder, address is 7867 South Wellsboro Road, Union Mills, Indiana. Zip code is 46382.
Okay, so you want to split these 2 parcels into one?
Correct.
Where's he at?
Well, no, one of the two.
I'm sorry, thank you. I apologize. So I think he's Julie M's iPad and Aaron, I can't,
That's correct.
Aaron Agner.
Second one on the right. Is that him?
I need to see your map. I must not have brought my whole agenda from the table one.
Someone,
Does anybody have a,
no, he does.
oh no, that's,
The same thing as this.
yeah, I was hoping there was a drawing that
Isn't that
showed.
this one?
So we are, oh yeah, he does have one.
Yeah.
Way to go, Adam. So we're just kind of looking at the sketch right now.
Okay.
What is his name?
Madam President, if I may.
Please.
So according to the sketch attached to the application, I see a white outline on the property and it fills up the lot north to south as I see it, to where it may infringe on the setbacks as well.
agree.
How accurate is this sketch compared to the intended building plan?
It's in the application.
Okay.
Is it in our packet?
So how close to the north and south boundaries is the structure, the proposed structure actually going to be?
It would be about 11 feet from the north and south on each side.
Isn't that electronic?
No, it's R1B. Right.
His backyard is a farm field.
Your microphone.
He's zoned R1B.
He is zoned R1B on 2 acres.
Well, it's gonna be less than 2,
And
right?
less than 2, I think Adam's right though. If it's anything close to being accurate, it's right on top of the lines.
Well, the setback is 10 feet in R1B and he's at 11, so he would skirt that just barely. So the home that's there existing, who owns that current home and parcel?
I do, Mark Schroeder.
Okay.
I mean, this
Are you guys related at all?
farmer.
No.
Okay.
Homeowner on this ground. This is not. This is.
Are there any remonstrators for petition number 3 this evening? Anybody here or they're here for or against petition number 3?
Who is?
We got you yet?
Any remonstrators for petition number 3? If not, we'll have some more questions from the board.
Like a farmer, you got a good point.
Anything?
You know.
Mr. Schroeder, I have a question. I mean, this is a well-established neighborhood. I mean, why are you asking to split your property like this? I mean, that's not common in that area, and I mean, you're in an agricultural area close to the co-op. You're right against a farm field where I mean, it's not exactly a place where we look for housing density. So,
Well, I have no purpose for that land, and I'm just trying to help a friend out, get some property so we can actually build a house. Right now, it's kind of hard to come across property, and I don't use it, so I have no reason to not sell it to him or let him build on it.
It's not a hardship.
yeah, but it's not a buildable lot by code. 100 feet is not enough frontage for a lot.
And the acreage, I think.
Need 200.
Because then it's going to be 0.59 acres also instead of 1 acre.
Correct. We had the house marked out, and it seemed suitable for him to put a house there, and I had no complaints from anyone surrounding, so that's why we tried to move forward with it.
Greg, do you have anything?
No.
What do you think?
How about you, Adam?
At this point, even though the setbacks are still within code for R1B, it still concerns just on the ability to build within that proximity without overlapping on either property. It may be okay for Mr. and Mrs. Schroeder here, but to the folks in the lot to the north, I'd be concerned about what do we have an infringement of looks like shrubbery or something in that area, as well as when they go to put in septic, what's going to go on with that garage or utility building there.
Or if you want a pole barn or something on building.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or a pool or anything.
And most people that buy, nobody that bought in that area was expecting that lot to be split and have one more neighbor, one more house being constructed. I mean, it's definitely going to take away from the value of the house to the north, having that density, that closeness where they had that space before, so.
I agree.
I don't see it as a hardship to anything other than to help somebody out.
Yeah.
Make your motion tonight.
Hearing no remonstrance for petition number 3 and seeing none come forward, if there are no further questions or comments from the board, I will entertain a motion for petition number 3.
I'll make a motion that the petition number 3 be denied, the petition for a variance of developmental standards for Mark A. and Julie Schroeder, seller, and Aaron M. Engler, buyer, to split the property. The property is located at 7867 South Wellsboro Road, Union Mills, Indiana, Noble Township.
I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
I will second the motion as written.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to deny the petition, so everyone's clear. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, your petition was denied.
That's peachy.
Thank you. Let's move on to petition number 4, which is a petition for variance of developmental standards for Tommy Sun and Paul John Kine for construction of an in-ground pool to the side of their home located at 255 Bluffside Road instead of the rear. There are 2 residences on the parcel. The property is located at 256 West Bluffside Road, 255 Bluffside Road, LaPorte, Indiana, Center Township, zoned R1B. Let's take a moment.
Adequate.
Thank you, Attorney BG. If you would please, petition number 4, if you're here, state your name and addresses for the record.
Yeah, it's Tommy Sun, 256 West Johnson Road, LaPorte, Indiana, 46350.
Tommy, are you the only one here for this petition?
The other owner is here as well.
Okay. Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, they can hear you.
My name is Paul Johnkind, 256 West Johnson, 46350.
Okay. Do you guys have a photo? So we're looking to put whose parcel is the pool going to go on?
Well, it's all one parcel.
There's two
It's
homes.
listed under the 256 West Johnson Road at this point. And it will be on the back yard of 256 West Johnson Road. It just will be on the side of the home that's at that property. It's at 255 west side.
I agree. I don't know.
I don't know about this.
I feel like we would do,
Yeah, a little bit here.
when two houses go on one lot, don't become two owners.
No. Who owns it?
We go, as they said.
If I might, Mike, do you have any experience with this? Two
Actually, gentlemen, they both are.
two residences with the pool?
One has to be a primary owner.
Right.
Who is the primary owner of this residence?
Tommy, yeah.
Or joint
It's
trust?
joint.
Right, Tommy's son and Paul Johnkind, joint tenants with
Yes.
rights of survivorship. It's not necessarily a common thing. It's an odd-shaped lot with two homes on it. One faces Johnson Road, the other one faces Bluffside.
I should have gone back and looked at the,
Back, yeah.
when it happened.
No, couldn't see much with the snow.
Yeah, right.
I took a
I
drive.
couldn't see much with the snow and stuff
Can I
back
ask
there and
Doug
how
a
it's gonna be.
question?
Please.
Doug, I have a question for you.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on here. You know, it's not uncommon for us, and I'm wondering if we're gonna have to change the way we do business here, but it's not uncommon for us to allow a second home on a lot now, you know, for an elderly parent or for some other reason. But here we have one lot, two owners.
Much need to look for us.
Is this something that's gonna happen in the future?
I mean, the trust is who owns it.
To the trust.
Well,
Question for me, Glenn?
Owns it.
What kind of property's gonna
Not
be,
real estate.
turned into a pool?
Are you asking me a question? I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Doug. So my question is, this is something we've never seen before. We have two owners, one lot, and we're looking for a variance on one of the homes. I said in the past, we have been allowing two homes on one lot, but we never gave the thought that there would be two owners. This is just
I think the fact that there are two owners is irrelevant. I mean, we get two owners all the time with husband and wives. So I don't think that part matters. These lots were grandfathered in. I think there are more lots like this in the county than we're aware of. But you have to take the lots as is and just address the pool issue.
Okay, thank you.
While you guys are looking at some of the documentation, are there any remonstrators this evening for petition number 4? Anybody in favor of petition number 4? Or against petition number 4? This is your time to speak.
I don't care.
They gotta split the tax bill, it's their deal.
Yeah. On a pool, we get a pool.
So I'm hearing and seeing no remonstrance for this petition. Are there further questions from the board?
Just an observation, whenever they get ready to sell it, whoever decides to get the pool, gets the pool. I mean, it's not up to us. I mean, he said it's not uncommon to have two owners on one property, so.
Right, and in this situation, the trust is actually the owner.
That's right. So, I don't see a problem. with it.
Okay, so seeing no remonstrance and,
one other question.
please?
All right, so I also see, so since there's a pool, there's also a requirement for a 5-foot minimum fence. Is that
cover?
Or yes, or a pretty structural,
Fence or a
pretty
cover.
substantial cover.
They have to be retractable, self-retractable covers.
Is that included in the plans, gentlemen?
A lid?
So the question is, there's a requirement.
Retractable cover on the pool, and that's what you're asking.
The second house is only 700 square feet, and it's gonna end up being a pool house garage in the future.
Oh,
Okay.
there it is.
Very good.
There, yeah, that makes sense to be a pool house garage in the future for here.
So,
But
I mean, he's
is
not
there-
asking
there's
for
no
any variance, so he
fence?
has to follow the code.
He has
He
to
has
follow
to
the
either
code.
put a fence
Yeah.
or a cover on it.
Exactly.
Follow the code.
Okay. So
Understand now.
again, seeing and hearing no remonstrance, we have no further question or comments from the board. I will entertain a motion.
I'm okay with it now, yeah. Anybody?
I'll make a motion, we accept the
Okay.
petition for variance of developmental standards for Tommy Son and Paul Johnkin for construction of an in-ground pool to the side of the home located at 255 Bluffside Road instead of the rear. There are two residences on the parcel. The property is located at 256 West Johnson Road, 255 Bluffside Road, LaPorte, Center Township, zoned R1B.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, congratulations. Make sure you get with the building department before you install the pool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, petition number 5 this evening is a petition for variance of use for Woodruff Karen Trust and Marvin Miller RLC to operate a storage facility. Will retain front office, rear pole building, and build new structures for the business for the property located at 7657 West State Road 2, LaPorte, New Durham Township, zoned ag on 6.302 acres. Petition number 5, are you here with us?
Yes, this is Jack McDonald for Marvin Miller, address 7657 Indiana 2, LaPorte, Indiana.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop you just for a second. Let's make sure all the legal work is ready.
Notice is adequate.
Thank you. And if you would restate your name and address one more time, because I didn't catch it all.
Sure. Jack for Marvin Miller, address is 7657 Indiana 2, LaPorte, Indiana 46350.
Great, thank you. So the existing location is currently being used as a storage facility?
It is not.
Okay, why don't you tell me what it's being used for now and how you plan to use it?
It was the LaPorte landscape formerly. It's 6 acres, has a small retaining pond, an existing pole barn, and existing front office building, which is currently being used. And we're looking at developing it into some storage units if, possible.
Oh, yeah.
Just out of curiosity, do we have any remonstrators this evening for petition number 5? Anybody
Yes, you
here?
do. You have at least 4 of the neighbors.
Okay. Do you guys have a single spokesperson that you would like to use?
I would probably speak. I'm
if you
to
would-
the east of the property. My name is Julia Quigley.
Thank you. And your address?
7505 West State Road 2, LaPorte.
Okay, and what are your concerns?
We weren't exactly sure what the property was going to be used for. There would be more neighbors, I think, participating if they understood that it was for storage facilities. 4 of the other neighbors that I spoke to thought it was under the understanding that it was going to be used to store raw materials for the contracting business. And we are concerned about we'd like to see a site plan to get an idea of lighting and traffic in and out. We'd also like to have a little time, if possible, to table this till the next meeting so we can do a little research and talk to more neighbors. We all bought our homes knowing about that we would have privacy. Even though it's on Highway 2, we still have the privacy of just traffic driving by, not traffic stopping. And we are concerned about security and privacy, and possibly there's some things that we could research to find out what statistics go hand in hand with storage facilities.
The other neighbors that you're referring to, are they adjoining to this particular property? Or they just live in?
One other neighbor is George, who's on here. I think.
He is, so he's being.
George Curris.
So George is listening right now to the same information you're listening to. And if all the adjoining property owners were notified, then they should either be on the meeting or be here in person so that they can learn more about it.
George is here on the call. George, you want to unmute your?
So are there any specific questions that you're concerned about?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, George. Do you have specific concerns?
Okay. Yeah, I have lots of concerns. We moved into this place when this was a nursery next door, and we had constant people stopping at our house on a daily basis wanting to know if we were the owners of that property. We had 2 policemen actually walk into the house late at night, walk through the door unannounced because they were looking for someone that was. Now we have new neighbors. Agricultural, commercial, not fine.
Okay, is there anything additional? We'd certainly like to get Jack to address some of those concerns.
I'm sorry, please repeat.
Do you have additional concerns?
Well, if you do any storage units around the country, 24-hour traffic, stolen merchandise being placed in the storage units at late hours in the evening, crime rates have gone up in those areas. Houses have been broken into because of the excess traffic. Meth labs going up inside the storage units themselves. I mean, if you go online and look, there's a jillion things that are negatives against a storage unit. I don't necessarily need that type of headache. I don't think Julia does either.
No, we were hoping that since it's zoned agricultural, something more relative to agriculture would be put up there.
Thank you very much. So Jack, having heard some of the concerns, do you want to address any of those with the board?
Sure. Totally get the concerns, and that's why we're bringing it before the board. We're just seeing it's more of an exploratory at this point. There's 6 acres there, like I said. It is set down below the road there, so it's less visible, especially with the proper landscaping put in. It would be screened. It wouldn't be visible. I understand people don't want to be looking at storage units. As far as stats on crimes and all that, I'm not sure about that. I used to run a storage unit myself and didn't have those issues, especially for a smaller one like this. I understand about the lighting concerns. Obviously, lighting would have to be approved through the building department to not contaminate or encroach on other people's properties. I do understand that.
So how many units total are we talking?
I believe on the site plan there was 6 buildings of various lengths. The plan is not necessarily to do all those at the same time, more to see what would be possible, if it's feasible, if it's useful.
You have a site plan?
I have them.
I kind of have.
How many units in each building?
Again,
Okay, I'm sorry.
varies.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Probably talking,
Jack?
depending on the width of those units,
Jack?
10 to 20 per side.
That one was firm.
Anywhere
Intend
from
that.
10 to 15.
Jack, I'm going to ask the remonstrators to direct their questions to the board, and you can direct your responses to the board as well, please. So the question that we asked for how many units were going in. We understand you just replied with 6 buildings with various sizes. So how many individual storage units are we looking at?
That is a great question. I think we would be, just 1 second, let me see. I think we would be between 60 to 100 Well, because they could be double-sided, someone could be double-sided. I'd say probably around 100 to 150 units would be fair.
Here's the plan.
Well, I see the 6 buildings, I don't see the 100 to 150 units.
5, 6.
Correct, that is not noted clearly on the site plan.
There's actually 7 buildings as I see it.
The one up front.
There's the 400 footer up front with 160 next to it.
Right, this one wasn't accounted for,
Yeah.
I think.
Correct, there's one on the far left that I was.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So that's-
7 total, but honestly, looking at the property, the Doolin laid this out for us. I don't believe we'd be able to fit one of those in there. I don't think it would be as suitable just because of the topography, and we're not looking at, changing that significantly.
So where would the office be located in reference to your plan?
The office would be in the current building, and to their concerns, I understand the concerns too about them thinking that a house close by was related. That would be quite annoying. So we could definitely guarantee that we could put some very clear signage to direct people to the appropriate office so they wouldn't get bothered.
And what is your plan for lighting? Then, because certainly you are up against, a residence on the west side rather. So what is the lighting plan to kind of keep that light pollution away from them?
There is no plan there.
Sure. We don't have a formal lighting plan yet, but like I said, especially with how the property is set lower than the other property, it's actually lower than the property next to it. With a little bit of landscaping, some of it is already existing, and lights being directed appropriately, there shouldn't be a lot of light pollution.
That'd be low.
Let's talk a little bit about security. Is this going to be gated? Only individuals with a pass or a code can get in?
It certainly could be. That's being considered.
Go ahead, Glenn.
I'm wondering about water retention. I mean, you're gonna have a lot of gravel, you're gonna have a lot of roofs, and is there a water retention project in this?
There is an existing water retention pond, and it is noted on the site plan.
It's in the yellow?
Yeah. That would either be remaining or slightly expanded.
It's the lowest part.
So we're just going to vote tonight on whether or not this property can be approved for this use. MS4 and water runoff is going to be handled by the county MS4 office, and then any of the other permits obviously are going to go through the building department. So I just want to remind the board that our focus tonight is on the use of the property. I made you, Glenn.
So at this time, what you have here is just what is proposed. It's not really written in stone, is it?
That is correct. This is early stages, but we're just looking at even the possibility before we invest a lot of time and money on that.
Yeah, and I think that my opinion is, and I certainly think this might help with the remonstrators as well, I'd like to see something a little bit more firm. 7 buildings plus the office or 8 buildings plus the office. We don't know what we're going to do for lighting. We're considering security plans in place. I mean, I would like to see something a little bit more firm before I were to grant something in this nature.
Yeah, more detailed plan is a good idea, especially with the traffic flow there too.
Absolutely.
Right, they'd have to go to State Highway.
Also, just not the number of buildings, but the number of units within the whole
Units,
complex.
yes, I agree. How it's gonna be laid out. Yeah.
Can I say something? This is George Corris. Can I say something, please?
George, I'm going to let you say something because we haven't started a motion yet, so yes.
I spent 11 years on the BZA in Lowell, Indiana, before we moved up here. This is another situation where people have bought property with the intent to do something before coming to a board and asking if it's feasible. Once again, it takes the neighbors and neighborhood situation and turns it upside down. And a lot of times the stuff gets rammed through, not in your case, I'm just stating. And ultimately, the people that are around pay the penalty of having something forced upon them. So I'd like you please to at least give us, the neighbors, the opportunity to say, this is not what we want for this area.
Greg, I'd like to see a detailed plan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would.
Melissa, I'm confused because, I mean, what he's saying, I mean, I don't think it makes that much difference, but I believe this new person, it's a petition between two different people. I mean, they haven't purchased the property. They're asking us before they purchase the property, I believe. Okay.
Your microphone. So we're being told that is this currently under a land contract? Do you own this property yet?
Yes, it is under land contract, and just to make sure it's cleared up too, this land was not purchased for building storage units. It was purchased for the construction business to house our office there and a few pieces of equipment, which is what it's being used for right now. This was just an idea for using unused land that is kind of overgrown right now and undeveloped, and turning into something useful. So it was not bought with that intent, if that's helpful.
I think I'd like to table.
Yeah. I think I would too, to see a detailed plan. How much time does he need?
So how much time would you need to bring back a detailed plan to the board and present that with us in terms of more information on security, lighting, layout, number of units?
Traffic.
Yeah, I would think optimistically within a month, but probably more realistically within 2 months to get the appropriate people to study that and or, to look it over, because that's, quite a few different things we need to make sure we get correct.
So Jack, would April give you enough time for that?
Yeah, that would be good.
And that would be the 20th, April 20th? So I will entertain a motion. Because I can't make one.
Melissa, I'll motion in order to table this petition for variance for Board of Karen Trust and Marvin Miller LLC, just to come back with more of a detailed plan regarding security, traffic, number of units, lighting, and other concerns regarding encroachment on the current neighbors.
Very good.
Second.
Great, I have a motion and a second to table until the April 20th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and table you until April 20th, and maybe in that time frame too, you can talk a little bit more with the neighbors so that they are well versed on what the plan is before you come back in.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Petition number 6 this evening is a petition for special exception for Timothy J. Kohler, seller, and Timothy and Sarah Welsh, buyer, to operate a campground. Plans include the addition of cabins, a bathhouse, a playground, a ropes course, and a water slide. The property is located at 7397 East Emery Road, New Carlisle, Indiana, Hudson Township, zoned ag on 33.7 acres. So, petition number 6, and I'm gonna guess that's why everyone's on the meeting tonight. Petition number 6, are you here with us?
Board lit up.
We're here.
Okay, let's make sure your legal work is okay with our attorney.
No, this is adequate.
Thank you, and if you would, please state your names and address for the record.
Tim and Sarah Welsh, 20089 Darden Road, South Bend, Indiana, 46637.
So you currently live in South Bend. Do you own this property currently?
Yes.
Okay, do you plan at any time to reside on the property or only operate it as a campground?
Let's clarify. The property on Emery Road is under contract at this point, so it is not currently owned.
I thought you were talking about this
we
one.
do have the intention of using that both as our home as well as the camp business.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So actually pretty familiar with that area out there. What kind of, and I apologize, I don't have your map out yet. Can you talk to me a little bit about wetlands? Because I feel like that and maybe, what's that stuff that burns? Peat. That I feel like wetlands and maybe peat are a concern out on this property. Can you confirm or not deny that?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
The amount of wetlands and or if there's peat on that property. That's going.
I'm only catching the first part about the wetlands. I'm sorry, I'm missing the last part of it, which is the connection.
Wetlands. How many acres of wetlands are on this property?
Gotcha. That I am not sure of. I do know there are some parts of it. The total property is about 34 acres, but it's rolling as far as hills.
Ma'am, to everybody, can I interrupt you for just a moment? For everyone in the audience that is still on the call, would you please mute your call until it's time for you to speak and then unmute it so we can all hear each other a little bit better, please? Thank you. I'm sorry, Tim, if you want to continue, I apologize for interrupting.
No, that's quite all right. I said I don't have a clear answer on how many acres are considered under wetlands. There are some lower lying areas since it is rolling hills throughout that 33 acres of property.
Okay. So you're going to construct, your plan is to construct zip lines, playgrounds. Do we have a builder or someone that specializes in rope lines that you have in mind?
Not at this point. I mean, as far as like our building phase process, that is quite a bit along in the process. So we're looking at that being, perhaps, given approval 10 years down the road, is actually as far as construction. So
what would be phase one?
A very rustic, small ratio as far as like children to adults, as far as who we're serving. Much of the property has about like 6 buildings, and our first phase is really just to get those remodeled. So one example is a pole barn that currently just has a dirt floor foundation. That's a particular space we'd like to turn around, use for like a multi-purpose / cafeteria. So again, we'd have to get just a survey done. So I know that's a little longer answer to your question, but that's part of our building phase that we're just not quite at yet. So I wasn't there for anybody to.
Madam President.
Yes, please.
I think for ourselves as the board and everyone on the call, really, we're kind of looking for a little bit more description as the intent of the business. There's been a lot of contact that's been on. There's been a lot of email traffic that's come through the building commissioner's office relative to campground versus children's camp. And I think going back to the beginning and explaining exactly what the intent of the business is would be a great start.
Wonderful, thank you.
Sure. So our business is incorporated in the state of Indiana since 2017. We're a non-for-profit 501c3 religious camp ministry. Our intent is not to build an RV campground on that particular space. Really what we want to be able to do is reach out to the local community and bring in churches, schools, children for summer camp programming. So, I mean, really our intent is just mostly throughout the summer months and just bring them in typically throughout the week, Monday through Friday, have like one night that they would stay over. And at this point, used in a tent camping capacity as far as sleeping arrangements.
So do you operate another facility like this one in the area?
No. At this point, we typically will use just like host facilities. So So like an example is a church would contract us to come in and just do programming, and they would, again, post us because we have no actual property. So this is our intent, is trying to take the next step in our camp, by having a place that they can come to us rather than we're taking it somewhere else.
So tell us again about the first phase of the project.
Sure. So right now, there's a 2-story home on it that would serve both as our office and also as our home. There are 2 larger barns. One is just a longer pole barn, and the other one is like a wood frame barn, and then there's some other existing outbuildings. Much of those are in some need of repair, and that's gone through like both the appraisal and inspections, so we kind of know what we're getting into. So our first phase really is to be able to address just some kind of glaring pieces with them, and then eventually be able to just update. Just about all of them have electric, so like just whatever spaces that we're looking to use, that we would be able to get something surveyed and see whether like a septic and water could be ran out to it.
How many campers expect to have? Good question.
Do you want to ask? I can.
How many campers do you expect to have? Do you have like a capacity in mind? How many campers you would allow?
Sure. Just over the summer, we would look to have anywhere between 100 to 200, and that would serve for about the 3 months of time of operation.
And that's not even like this year or next year. This is a couple years from now when we're able to hire staff and we're able to house them the way that we would want to. So
What I'm trying to get the
kind of a longer vision there.
that's a good part of the answer, but just for all the remonstrators, how many campers will you have on a daily basis? What is the expectation? I mean,
how many full-time residents?
20. I mean, you probably have 2 groups. One group of boys, one group of girls. And no more than about 10 to a group.
Thank you.
All right, you guys.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this original layout with the sketch, if you will. It's on the beacon image. I see a bathhouse and a water slide, both adjacent to the small pond that's on the property. Zip lines running through what's currently marked as wetlands, and then parking to the rear. What I call the rear being the north side of the property.
Right.
How firm is this in your image right now?
How far is it in our image?
No. How firm of an image is this right now? Have you gone and considered what the land is capable of accepting in regards to this this layout?
No, we haven't.
Okay. Just by looking at it, I'd be concerned about the current placement of the bathhouse, and then I'm concerned about the non-permeable surface of the parking lot being close to the landowners to the north that also have mapped out ponds and wetlands. Having looked at them personally, I don't believe that they encroach as much as Beacon shows that they do, but we'd have to go through some level of due diligence in order to consider that, and I think that's more MS4 than it is us.
It is.
Right.
MS4 would be concerned with the setbacks in the vicinity to wetlands, as well as anything going into the wetland, any type of fill, any type of construction, zip line, anything like that. And it's not just MS4, this would be a Army Corps of Engineers jurisdiction. MS4 kind of serves as the local first contact.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to make this statement to all the remonstrators. I'm getting ready to ask for remonstrators. And what I would ideally like to have is I'm going to start with, you're here for this petition in the audience. No? Okay. So what I would like to do is have, if Ashley, you want to read some of them, I'd like to have kind of a consensus, groups at a time. I don't want to hear the same concern over and over and over.
Somebody named No Campground says we have a petition with 140 signatures opposing this. It's not just the traffic from the campground that is concerning, it's the already overpacked beach and lake. Being a nonprofit, how does the county raise the funds to service the extra needs? We don't even have a fire department here in Hudson Lake. They don't even have the funds to purchase it, yet they have a GoFundMe page to get the loan. How can they maintain a business of this magnitude without the funds to even purchase the place? Chrissy Corley said local Hudson Lake residents don't want this. And somebody else said these people are scammers looking for a free place to live under the pretense of a church camp.
Right.
Okay, so if anyone has something additional to add other than what we've already heard, I'd like you to please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ryan Weber. Address is 8242 North 700 East, New Carlisle. I live right down the road from this property. My question, I guess, to the Welshes is this petition contingent on you buying the property?
Okay, and again, I'm going to remind everybody that you're addressing the board, and then when we're finished with remonstrators, we'll have...
That would be one of my questions. The other question is that the impact on the hunting and recreational shooting in the area next to a children's camp, supposedly. Another question. I submitted most of my questions in writing through email through Ashley. I have another question as far as what are the limitations and restrictions if this camp is approved? From everything I've read online, there are no limitations or restrictions for a campground. It's under a county petition as we're in right now, and as soon as they're approved, they can kind of do as they want. Now, there are things that can be put in as far as amongst the board. We can make rules, but as far as the grand scheme of things, it's just kind of open-ended. And I think that's detrimental to the small community we live in. I think that would be detrimental to our property values. We've moved here to have a small community, a rural living area, and just hearing that their questions, they really don't have any plans. So you're kind of, if this gets approved, you're giving them a key to the kingdom without anything that's right. With no limitations on anything.
That's right.
So, I mean, I think it'd be reckless for our residents and community to let this go through.
Yes.
I mean, if it is going to be a small community, 10 feet kids a year or whatever, I'm not saying that I'm opposed to that. But what I'm saying is there are no limitations for this in writing. So it's just kind of open-ended, and that's what scares me on the situation. So.
Thank you, Ryan. And I know we did receive multiple emails regarding this and the petitions with all the signatures. So I know that the board members all received that at some point. So Karen Fitzgerald, you are here to remonstrate. If you would state your name and address for the record. And again, please include something new that we have not heard already.
My name is Karen Fitzgerald. I live at 8267 East Elm Lane. I was basically concerned of the population, and because here in the summer it gets very crowded.
Yes, it does.
Chicago people, and just concerned, is the campground, are the kids going to stay on the campground? Are they going to be able to go down to the public beach? Because the beach is so overpopulated now as it is. It's just, those are some of my concerns. I don't have an issue with it being a church for kids. I think that's great. I'm just concerned about the population, and I agree with Mr. Weber also about our taxes and what it's going to do to the small community.
Right.
Okay, thank you. The next remonstrator that has something new to add, please state your name and address for the record.
Sharon Johnson.
Sharon, what's your address?
7512 North Oriole Lane, Hudson Lake. My family's been out there 100 years, and we've watched, like the lady just said, the community get more and more crowded. We've all paid our taxes all these years, and I'm assuming by them being a non-profit, they're going to try to be tax exempt.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other remonstrators with something new to add? Okay.
Mike?
Excuse me, Council. I've submitted 15 questions through email, and Ashley informed me that you guys would go over those. I don't believe that anything's been gone over, so, I mean, is that something that I have to restate, or is that something you're going to address later?
We can address those for you. Ashley, you have a new
Yep,
chat.
it says, our community just had an incident where a child molester took a group of young girls into his property and took advantage of them. This place is just an open invitation for another monster to have access to our area. We want to protect our children and our grandchildren.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone that wants to add anything new?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Would you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Lucinda Volka Scheidel. I live at 8.
Lucinda, could I get you to spell your last name, please?
That's the dirt dead end road.
Just want to make you have it. Okay.
That many people use. My concern is entrances and exits to the campground, and what changes will be required on the dirt road and on Emery to allow for this traffic and the people that are going to be coming in.
Right.
Which one of you would like to read off some?
Oh.
Let's see if we can't get some responses from Tim and Sarah Welsh here. Dwayne, you have some of the questions from
Ryan?
Ryan Weber. Mm-hmm.
I do. Not in any particular order here. How many people are allowed for said camping at one time?
And let's talk in terms of, let's answer these questions, in my opinion, the initial phase and down the road. So the initial phase, how many kids are we talking? And then at the optimum capacity, that would be that 100 to 200 maybe mark?
Sure, yeah.
So let's talk about first what is going to happen in the near future should this get approved.
Sure. Well, I know that this year we would like to do some campfire nights, and so we're looking to have just a couple of families out, maybe 3, 4, 5 families, and that would be once a month.
Right.
Yep, that would be once a month. That's what we have planned so far. And we would like to do a camp day where we invite a couple of families. And this I would imagine being more kids involved. Several families, again, maybe 5 or 6 families. Because, you know, we still have a small fan base. So this year I don't expect more than maybe 30 people at a time. And moving forward, I would think, honestly, I think probably less than that camper-wise for like a weekend of camp.
Yeah, just to be reiterated, like our business model, like we want to have smaller groups. That way it's more impactful for being able to reach kids, that there's more quality time with them rather than a larger number. one particular counselor is having to try to, have a little less time with each of them. So again, it's that quality time that we're looking for, which gets to a smaller group of kids, so.
So Attorney BG, can you speak to any of the regulation with campgrounds or the 501(c) for tax exemption on the property? Because I feel like I want to ask questions like, how are these counselors qualified? Things of that nature that are probably going to get out of our scope.
Well, I don't think the county certainly doesn't have any rules regarding campgrounds, nor any regulations, nor any enforcement mechanisms. So that's pretty wide open, frankly. As far as them being a 501(c)(3), if they submit the property application to the assessor's office, they will be tax-free.
So currently, we are buying this property as Tim and Sarah Welch. It's not under our business. So that is something, that way you guys have as much information to work with.
A tax exemption can be filed later, and just as Doug spoke about, underneath the county regulations of this campground, there are no regulations. So the Welshes can state what they want, but they can do whatever they want. And that's my issue with this whole thing.
Here, come have some water.
Right, we certainly do understand that. That's why we're asking these questions.
Wow.
Thank you.
Have some water. No? Yeah, you should have some.
And then also, Council, has the Welshes presented a business plan at all? Because they speak about it, but when asked questions, they don't really have any answers.
Right. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's no need a business. I mean,
Oh, I agree. I kind of feel like the last petition. I don't feel like I have enough information.
we don't. We have a litany of whole questions.
Right. There's so many questions we have, and I think that right now, I was just explaining to Dwayne that I feel like, just like our previous petition, that there's just not enough information here. There's a whole lot of, we'd like to do this, and we want to fix up some buildings, but I don't feel like there's any concrete information that either the board or the remonstrators are receiving that are making any of us feel very good about this petition and approving it tonight. Myself, and I don't speak for the whole board, I would certainly like to see you come back in front of us with something a little bit more detailed than a map that looks like this with some sketches on it and a parking lot over what's probably a wetland, or if not a wetland, very close to one. So that's my opinion. I'd like to see more details about phase 1 is XYZ, and we're planning on having individuals that are counselors that are certified from some church organization or something that's affiliated with your business, which we're not even seeing here, a business name, before we can even take a look at the realistic aspect of that. And then phase 2, this is the next phase. I mean, you said campfires. I immediately am nervous about, I feel like there is peat in that area. It burns. I feel like safety is a real concern. My red flags are going up all over the place. And so I don't speak for the entire board, but that's definitely my feeling, is that if I were to vote on this tonight, I could say I would vote no to it. Or it might be easier for us to table this for a month, 4 months, and get some concrete information from you before presenting it again to your neighbors and potential neighbors and to us as a board.
It probably may be prudent for you to have a very, very detailed business plan of what you want. You may want to seek the counsel of an attorney, even help put it all together the right way. It will help make it fly a little bit better, so you have your legal stuff put together at the same time.
Dwayne, just to add on to that, both in research and some of the conversation we've had here tonight, Army Corps of Engineers relative to zip line impacting wetland. Exactly. You start talking about playground equipment certifications for how these are going to be built. This is not, a home recreation. This is for other children's, other families' children. All of those things need to be included in that business plan in order to protect the Welshes as well as the surrounding communities that be affected by this. So I think it's all of this is in support of having a good business model.
I would seek legal counsel on it. That's our recommendation right now. What say you?
So, Mr. and Mrs. Welsh, I don't know, are you interested in proceeding with a vote this evening? Is it your desire to have us table you for a period of time before, so that you can straighten out some of these questions and come back?
With a solid business plan proposal.
We are looking to buy this personally, and we're looking to slowly develop it, is basically what we're getting at. Is there a possibility of, I feel like I shouldn't have to ask if I can buy a home for us to buy personally, you know what I mean? But
it's not a personal home, it's gonna be a business plan. You're gonna do this for a business.
Right.
So there has to be some thought going into this.
Not for scammers.
I think legal advice would be best for you.
Okay.
Just to direct us to the Welshes, we're not.
Yeah, actually, Ryan, you're not directing any questions to the Welshes. You're directing all comments and questions to the board.
Okay, but the petition is to rezone this prior to the purchase of the home.
It's not rezoning.
It's a petition to.
We are not.
Variance of the zoning, I'm sorry.
Point of order, Madam President.
Thank you.
The comments are supposed to be directed to the board, and each side has had an opportunity to say that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So again, Tim and Sarah are
willing to bring
are you willing to work on your business plan and bring it back in a period of time? Or do you want us to vote?
Business plan. I can email it to you guys. I've emailed it to several people. Yeah, we have a business plan.
I don't feel that as a board member that I have heard any of your firm business plan. So I'm definitely in favor of tabling this matter. Or again, we can put it to a vote if you'd like this evening. So I'm going to ask one last time, how do you like to proceed?
Are there any other questions that we are allowed to answer?
Oh, there's a myriad there's very large amounts of questions that we have not even gotten to.
Would it be fair to pass on the questions, not necessarily as asking for immediate response, but pass on the questions such that they can use them to help build their plan for a more substantial approach to us if this is tabled?
The plan should include what they're gonna ask for. The business plan, that's why I think legal counsel would help put it together the right way and then present it. Because there's a lot of ramification here. We're talking about kids. Everything you brought up is very valid points. The playground equipment, how they're gonna use it, there's wetland, there's camping. And we're beating up a horse here for nothing, it's not even here for us to vote on tonight. There's nothing proper for us to look at.
Agreed.
So it's very, very inadequate right now. So if we vote tonight, I don't think it's gonna go nowhere. So if they're smart, they will seek the advice of the board and go forward.
I think it's fair for them to understand that if we vote tonight and we deny it,
What is the time frame?
It's
again,
a year.
For them to
Is it a year?
1 year. So just so you know, the discussion we had is that there are so many concerns, and if you had a business plan, we don't feel like that's been relayed to us as a board. And if you want us to vote this evening and the petition gets approved, that's one consideration. If we vote tonight and the petition does not get approved, then you cannot reapply for 1 year. The third option would be to table the matter for a month or two until you have a structured business plan that you can present to both the board, and the remonstrators would have additional information as well. Glenn?
I think what Melissa's saying is probably a good idea, because this is a lot to absorb the way we're doing this, and if we can get you all these issues that the remonstrators have, I think you could clear a lot of them up. I think, you could identify, if there's peat on the property, and then you would identify and make a map saying where no campfires are going to be in this area. I think that's what they're looking for, is a more detailed plan of the property, not so much your business plan, but your plan for the property and the use. And I think, again, I think done right, I think, you could really present a good plan. And I think the remonstrators would understand what you're doing.
Sure. We haven't moved forward because we don't own it, so we didn't do a lot of detail. We didn't get a lot of people out there surveying the land because we're just asking for permission to do what we want to do.
I know it makes it difficult for you, but it's just something that's going to have to be done, I'm afraid, for us as a board to be able to approve this for you.
What's your decision?
We're just asking that we just have it tabled, and then we'll look to be able to bring it back before you.
Why is
And then we can have an opportunity then to be able to get some other additional information out to the local neighbors and anyone else who has some concerns.
What is the time frame you'd like?
1 month. So this next coming in March.
March 16th. Are you sure 1 month is going to be enough time?
Yes.
Okay, make a motion.
I'll be glad to. I'll go ahead and make the motion that for petition number 6 tonight, the petition for special exemption for Timothy J. Kohler, seller, and Timothy and Sarah Welsh, the buyers, to operate a campground. These plans includes additional cabins and a bathhouse, the playground, etc. This property is located at 7397 East Emery Road. It's in New Carlisle, Hudson. And 33 acres will be tabled for 1 month till the 3/16 meeting, at which time they can present a detailed business plan to us.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of tabling petition number 6 for 1 month? Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, so we're gonna see you back on the March 16th meeting, and please feel free to email any information ahead of time to Ashley, and we can have a chance to review it before the meeting. Right before the meeting.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Petition number 7 this evening is a petition for variance of developmental standards for Kenneth and Mary McAtee for placement of a mobile home. Last renewed on February 21st, 2017 for 3 years, renewable. The property is located at 7421 East Point Road, New Carlisle, Indiana, Hudson Township, zoned R1B on .336 acres. Petition number 7, are you here with us?
This is her daughter, Debbie Jerkowski.
Okay,
I have come to all of the variance meetings for them. They're in their 80s, and so I have been at all of them.
Okay, Debbie, let's make sure we have all of our legal work completed.
Notice is adequate.
Okay, thank you. And again, would you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my parents' name is Mary and Kenneth McAtee. They live at 7421 East Point Road Extended, New Carlisle, Indiana, 46552. My name is Debbie Jerkowski. I live at 7401 East Point Road Extended, New Carlisle, Indiana, 46552.
And Debbie, could I get you to spell your last name for the record, please?
It's Jurkowski.
Great, thank you. So, when was the first time the mobile home was installed at this address?
I'm so sorry, I could not hear you. I apologize.
When was the mobile home first installed?
In 1972.
And has the mobile home been upgraded at all since 1972?
There's been improvements over the course of the year. There's a basement that was added on in the front of it. To my knowledge, you know what, I'm gonna get this, I don't know the year that was there. It's been there since the early 80s, but it might have actually been built in the late 70s, the basement onto that. A porch has been added onto that. That's been done in the late 80s, early 90s. I don't have all the exact years for when those two were added on. I apologize.
Okay, so you live to the west of the trailer, correct?
Correct.
And you said your parents are aging and they're getting older. Or do you kind of take care of them?
I do. I help out. I take them to all of their doctor's appointments. My dad has had lung cancer twice, and had a half a lung removed on each side. He has COPD. They do okay. He's gone downhill in the last 10 years, but they do okay.
And they're currently living in the mobile home?
They are not there currently right now at this moment. They are, they go to Missouri and stay, I have family in Missouri that they go down, and they usually stay there in the winter times.
Mm-hmm.
I have to openly admit,
they're in for a treat right now, aren't they?
Dad's parents live there, and so they have a family that lives right next door to them that helps them and helps them with anything that they need and helps take care of them there. But otherwise, yes, they are normally here. They go usually a couple of months in the wintertime. It has been longer this duration because of the COVID and their fear of being able to travel to get back here and have to go in public places. They are waiting for the shots right now. They're on the list for the shots right now as we speak.
So which would you say is their primary residence? Here in Indiana?
Indiana is their primary residence.
Are there any remonstrators this evening for this petition? Anybody here for or against this petition? For Kenneth and Mary McAtee.
Madam President, I did have remonstrators call the office.
Okay.
I don't know if they're here, but just to let you know, there were some that called in.
And for or against it?
Against.
Okay.
And one last question, Debbie, for me, what year is the mobile home rather?
It's a 1972.
And we think it was first put in the property
there in 1972, and it is a 1972.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, guys.
Yeah. Well,
and I do believe the one person that had called into the office, she spoke to me, and there was a misunderstanding, a neighborly misunderstanding, and she had offered to actually sign off on it, on the paper where you can go and have I don't know what the paper's called, where you can go and have the neighbors sign off. But it was suggested to me that I just certified mail all of the things. I did that, but then she approached me after the fact and told me what the misunderstanding was, and it was cleared up, and she said that she would be happy to sign off on that, is what she told me. But that's not just, I'm just letting you know that.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments from the board?
Madam President, yesterday when I reviewed the property in person, it's very evident that although it is a mobile home, it is no longer mobile, as it's attached to it's got a basement, it's attached to two other structures. It's also in some dire need of repair. I see eaves that look like there was a tree that fell on what would be, I believe, the east side of the structure closest to Hudson Lake.
Yes, that fell in January, and we do have to get that fixed.
And other issues with broken windows, issues with the fireplace that's on the actual mobile home, that one surprised me. Just some things, although they're probably outside of our jurisdiction to some degree, it is cause for concern.
Okay, so we'd like to see a little bit of cleanup on there,
Yeah.
on the unit itself.
The damage on the roof that he is talking about was a tree branch. The tree is right next to there. You could look up and see where it broke off. That happened here in January. That was done recently. It will be fixed immediately. We do try to upkeep and take care of everything that is done and try to do it in a timely manner.
Okay, let's see, I'm gonna take a look at some of the photos.
What do you think?
I'd make a comment. I mean, they've been coming back and we've been renewing this. I mean, we don't want to displace any seniors. We certainly are concerned. Could you tell me, I mean, are they using that, what looks to be a fireplace in the mobile home? I mean, is that?
No, that has not been used for years.
Thank you.
And the last 2 times I've been there, that same question has actually been proposed to me. And it has not been used for years. Originally, if you go back to the 70s and especially in the 80s, the fireplace was used on a regular basis. There was even in the 80s, there was a wood stove that was put on the inside of the trailer and then piped out that chimney. The chimney has had issues, and when that wood stove came out, and I want to say that was probably around
When you have it though.
86, 87, somewhere in that time frame when the wood stove came out of the inside of the trailer, and that has not been used since.
Thank you. Well, like I said, you know, they're using it for senior dwelling. We really don't want to displace them. But we always like to make the statement that, you know, we would not likely, you know, allow somebody else to purchase this and dwell in it.
Absolutely not, and certainly discourage.
That is never the intent. It is to remain there for them.
Thank you.
Then when something would happen to them, then we would not sell that as is with the trailer on it.
And is it your intent to have it all fixed up and cleaned up before they get back home?
Well, I mean, fix the hole or where the tree limb broke. You sort of broke up. I heard the tree, the roof part, but I didn't hear the other things. I did hear you say the chimney, but I could not hear the other things because you broke up. There was something in between there that I missed.
Broken window.
Broken window.
Broken window.
Right.
Where's the broken window at?
It's facing the road, I believe, closest to your house. It looks like it may have been taped, but it's definitely a spider-webbed.
That one, we have tried to fix it. I can surely try again. I have had, and if anybody has any recommendations on where I can get that fixed, I would love to hear it, because we have had a difficult time trying to fix that. And try and find somebody who will fix that. But I don't have a problem fixing it. I just need a person to fix it. Like, I know I'm not opposed to fixing that. I just don't, I can't. I've been to Quality Glass. I've been to numerous places.
Okay, Debbie.
Yes, I'm
Great.
sorry.
Thank you, that's okay. So I want to ask one more time if we have any remonstrators this evening for petition number 7. Anybody for or against, other than the phone calls that we received in the building commissioner's office? Hearing and seeing none, I will entertain a motion from the board.
Well, I know, I'm hearing everything and thinking everything, and I applaud your efforts of taking care of the seniors too, and we have to keep that in mind. But how about if we go ahead and, I'll make the petition that we approve it for Kenneth and Mary McAtee for the place of your mobile home, that's a solid home, that was last renewed 3 years ago, for a 1-year period. And that way you can come back in front of the board in 1 year, and all these things we have talked about can all be fixed and put together before they even move into it, we hope. And then we can consider what we want to do going forward from there. So that would be my petition.
I'll second that.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second for a 1-year renewable, correct?
Yes.
1-year renewable petition for petition number 7. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign for those saying nay. Okay, we'll see you in 1 year and hopefully we can get some repairs and upgrades made to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, petition number 8 this evening is a petition for variance of use for Matt Costco, purchaser, and Lighthouse Church, LaPorte County, as successor in interest to Vineyard Church of LaPorte, Inc., to allow packaging of powder products. The property is located at 2699 North Highway 39, also known as 2710 North Kuchar Drive, LaPorte, Indiana, Center Township, zoned R1B on 3.73 acres. Petition number 8, are you here with us?
Yes, we are. Can you hear us?
I do, I see you. Thank you. So let's make sure our legal work is...
Notice is adequate.
Thank you very much. And if you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, members of the board. This is Dave Ambers, attorney in LaPorte at 601 State Street. I have with me your petitioner, the prospective purchaser of this property, Matt Costco. Unfortunately, we had some laptop trouble, so my cell phone camera only covers so wide. Mr. Costco is in the process of attempting to purchase what has most recently been the church building on Highway 39, just north of the old railroad viaduct. Prior to being a church, it was actually exactly what he wants to do, a packaging material packaging facility. My client has a business in Illinois that he would like to move here. They package food grade and medical grade powders. They have an FDA license that has to be renewed or inspections at a minimum of every 2 years. And they would like to move back to this business. They would have approximately 1 truck per day. There's an old bay for a truck to back into that they're trying to resurrect, that was filled in when the church took over, so that truck traffic would be limited to coming right in off of 39, not traverse all of Kuchar Drive. And I'll stop there since we're late and allow you to ask my client any questions you'd like to ask.
Thank you. You guys have?
I'll start.
Okay.
So with being a powder packaging company, I anticipate there's got to be some level of abatement regarding air permits and dust collection and things in order to prevent excursion from the building. What facility changes are expected to go with these changes?
We currently we use self-contained dust collectors. They where the mixing is done and then where the filling is done. Where they fill, there's really not very much dust, but where you mix in the bag house, there could be some dust. The dust collectors collect them. It falls down into a can, and then the can is just put out with the regular, in the dumpster.
So you're not going to have any sort of outside bar unit or anything like that. You're looking more along the
we don't
local.
use that in Chicago where we're at, and it's been fine with the environment and the way we do it with the city of Chicago. They like it that way. So we don't emit anything into the outside air.
How about any intended screening methods?
But they're nice smells.
Do you have any intentions for screening of the property? Right now there's codes for buffer zones and walls in order to mask the perimeter of the building, since you are bordered by what looks to be R1B residential.
We don't have any intention of doing that. I don't know if we would need to do that. The FDA, when they come in and inspect us, they just want a secure facility. And I know some people make it secure by, putting a fence around the place and locking it and everything. But I don't
I don't think that's necessary, and it hasn't been forced upon us at all. As long as the building is a secure building.
Are you asking about security or like a landscape buffer?
Looking for a landscape buffer.
Like if you're going to do a landscape buffer, plant some trees or shrubs around so it's less visible.
There's plenty there already if you were to see it, but yeah, I have no problem with landscape buffers. No, that's no problem.
I know, it is. It is, that's for sure.
How about hours of operation?
Good call.
Currently, for probably the last 4 years, Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 3:30, 7:30 to 4, 8 to 4:30. We usually vary the hours for the workers. If they, want to go home earlier in the summer, we start earlier. We haven't worked weekends in a long, long time. And 8 hours a day, basically, 5 days a week. We're not a huge operation. I guess you could almost say it's a mom and pop. We're kind of in a niche market with our topical and medicated powders.
What's your anticipated employment? How many folks you plan on staffing?
Probably where we're at right now, 10 to 15 employees.
Are any of those employees local to LaPorte County?
One of them grew up here. But no, my QA manager and my manager would probably come, with me for sure. But most anybody else I would probably hire from here. I don't think there's very many workers that we have there want to travel from the south side of Chicago over to here. So
Hours of operation?
Yeah. Could you repeat your hours of operation for me? You were going so quickly. I got Monday through Friday and 8-hour days, but I don't have the actual hours.
Well, the hour, let's just say 8 to 4:30, give or take a half hour on either end. Maybe we'll start at 7:30 to 4 o'clock.
So 7:30 to 4 o'clock, or 7:30 to 5?
7:30 to 4.
Is there an existing sign there that you want to use? An existing size of a sign?
Is there an existing sign there where you need a sign?
The part of the contract says that the sign is there, that we can have it, and then I plan on putting our name of our company right there on the corner.
Okay, so you're going to use the existing sign. Is it lit?
Yes.
And what size would you say that sign is? Estimate.
To me, it looks like it's 4x4, 5x5. It's on a pedestal.
Okay. Are there any remonstrators this evening for petition number 8? Any remonstrators for petition number 8?
Yes.
Okay, if you would you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Patricia Bell, and my address is 2701 North Kucher Drive, LaPorte, Indiana, 46350. And with me is Terry Yarmatter.
Okay, and
address?
I'm sorry, is it the same address you said?
It is the same address.
Okay.
There's 3 of us that have joint tenant with right of survivorship in this house.
Okay. Thank you. Can you tell me what your concerns are, Patricia?
Well, we've already talked about the hours of operation and that there's 10 to 15 employees. But my concern is if there's a change of heart and they want to increase, how much traffic would there be if they went to 3 shifts or just 2 shifts? Do you want me to just ask one at a time or ask all of them at once?
Yes, please direct all of your questions to the board.
Yes.
At one time.
Okay. The next one would be, what are any noise levels? Because this is a very quiet neighborhood, so we're concerned about potential noise levels.
then it's understood that there was 1 truck per day, but I'm assuming that's dropping off the dry powder. What about picking up the packaged items? How many trucks? And then piggybacking on that, depending on the size of the trucks, it's our experience living here that trucks try to use that parking lot as a turnaround and get stuck and end up blocking the road. So I know that they said there was a bay off of 39, but if that would be the only way that they would access from the truck deliveries. We also have a school bus that comes in there and picks up the kids. 2 kids live here and go to school, and the school bus comes into that parking lot and picks up the kids. And we're wondering if that would have to change, and we'd have to make other arrangements. And then I think we're down to how would this affect our property values? Do you have anything else?
No, you got everything.
I think that's everything we have right now.
Okay. Attorney Ambers, if you're there, if you'd like to speak to some of it, or if Mr.
I'll allow my
Costco would.
client to answer the questions.
Thank you. So obviously with the hours of operation you've given us, that kind of takes a 3rd shift and a 2nd shift pretty much off the table. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't see a 2nd or a 3rd shift happening, only because we have excess capacity on our equipment right now that I would have to run all 3 lines, production lines, 8 hours a day, and we're only running approximately 1 line a day right now. So I don't see to a 2nd, definitely not a 3rd shift, but I don't even see a 2nd shift.
Okay, and just so everyone is clear, should we approve the petition, the hours of operation that you give us right now are the hours of operation that the business can operate, not outside of those hours. So 7:30 to 4. 7:30 to 4 are going to be the operating hours of the establishment. You would have to come back in front of us to change those hours.
I understand 7:30 to 4, that's fine.
Okay, and I think that probably works. What kind of time frame do your deliveries come in and then go out? So I'm thinking that 7:30 to 4 might work with the school bus.
I don't know what time the school bus comes, but deliveries, we usually schedule them between 9 and 2, and that's about it. We don't take anything after that or much before that.
How many?
Like I said, how truck drivers are. Sometimes they don't stick to a schedule. They might show up a little earlier.
How many trucks a day do you anticipate delivery and out, in and out?
When I say 1 truck a day, just for example, like last week, we had 1 truck all week. This week we had 1 truck so far. So then next week we'll have a truck every single day, and maybe on 1 or 2 days there might be 2 trucks. It's just, I'm saying on an average it's 1 truck a day.
Okay, and then lastly, what about noise pollution from the plant? Are we talking about, I know that Adam had talked about some equipment for the powder to keep dust down, but are we looking at anything, how loud is the operation, and is it really going to impact the neighbors?
You won't even, I'm in a residential area where I'm at right now, and I've been there for 32 years. Nobody's ever complained about the noise. You can't even hear our plant running when it's running. The equipment is not loud at all. We do have a compressor that runs, but I plan on putting it on the west side of the building. I don't think anybody would hear it. It's a screw type compressor. It's not a very loud one. But that's probably the loudest piece of equipment that we have. And that's usually housed to keep the noise down.
Okay. Do we have any further remonstrators, either for or against this petition? Any additional questions or comments from the board? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam President, I motion the petition for variance of use for Matt Costco to purchase the Lighthouse Church in LaPorte County for use as a powder packaging facility, provided that they are working to the buffering requirements of the joint the joint zoning ordinance, with hours of operation from 7:30 to 4, with using the existing lit sign for the previously what was previously the Vineyard Church.
You're good.
And did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
That covers it.
Nope.
All right.
Very good.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too, thank you. So lastly, petition number 2 this evening is a petition for variance of developmental standards for Larry Poole, seller, and Walter Smyers, buyer, for placement of an RV for temporary dwelling purposes. We'll be constructing a home. The property is located between 9854 and 9722 North, 500 West, Michigan City, Springfield Township, zoned R1B on 5 acres. Let's make sure our legal work is okay. And
Notice is adequate.
thank you. And petition number 2, are you here with us?
Yes.
Okay, I see you there, Walter, and I can hear you this time. So what is unique to this situation, making it necessary for you to dwell in an RV temporarily?
Well, we weren't planning on being out here. We had another place we were at, and in the middle of me buying this property and then all the stuff that happened when we started moving over here, we lost the place where we were at. So we put the camper out here, which was supposed to be just temporary for a minute, which it's going to be anyway because we plan on building a house. But under the circumstances, we had to do what we had to do, and I'm trying really hard to get us in a better place with it than what it is, but it's what it is for the moment.
Walter, I apologize. I should have asked you your name and address for the record first. So if you could state that for us for the record. Are you there?
Did Walter hang up?
Oh, my God.
Can you still hear me?
Now we can.
I can hear you
I
now.
apologize. I got a poor connection with the internet out here.
If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Walter David Smyers, and address 220 Elm Street, Michigan City, Indiana.
Okay.
46360, I believe, or 50. I'm not sure.
So how soon are you planning on building at this location?
Come spring, hopefully we can have everything to where we know where we want to put the building, the house, and do all that zoning, everything we got to do as far as.
So how long are you asking for a variance for the motorhome? For a year, 2 year, or what?
We was looking for like a year, with under the circumstances. I don't know how long it'll take if we had to come back in a year or afterwards. Hopefully we'll have a house by then. Not sure what I'm doing. We're doing the best I can with it,
Okay, let's see if there are any remonstrators this evening for your petition, for petition number 2. Yes. And I do have one here in the audience. I'd like to ask him to come forward, and if you would, thank you for your patience and state your name and address for the record, please.
George Schaefer, 9754 North, 500 West. I also own the property right adjacent to the one in question with the trailer, 9722 North, 500 West. Mm-hmm. They both properties adjoin to the property with the trailer on it.
And what are your concerns?
first of all, I have a question is, I feel like I'm the bad guy here. It's not legal to put a trailer on an empty piece of property and live in it. I believe that's true. Someone in LaPorte County gave Mr. Smears permission to move on to that property and run a generator since November 10th. I'm listening to it, and the people living next to me are listening to it. I think the right way of doing it was to come and ask for the variance, get the variance, and then move on. The other problem I'm having is that even though Mr. Smears wants to be part of the neighborhood, he doesn't want to be neighborly. I never walked over to the property because at the end of the driveway are 2 signs that say warning, no trespassing, and there's a 3rd sign that I haven't gotten close enough to read. I didn't get an invitation till last month's meeting. Apparently there was a late paperwork sent in December, and last month when I showed up, no one was here, the meeting was canceled. I've gotten no paperwork from anybody on any of that. Then my neighbors...
Was he moved to this month?
Pardon me?
We tabled his petition from last month to this month.
And I didn't get a notification. I got it when I got here.
Okay.
So, you know, this whole thing is, he's been given permission to put a trailer and live in it.
Oh, who gave him permission?
Someone told him he was allowed, talk to... I don't know
how that would have come out.
We need to talk to somebody from the county, told him it was okay to put the trailer on.
Who is the somebody?
Janet Cole. I talked to a half dozen people, secretaries, administrators, 2 commissioners, police, everybody. Someone gave him permission to verbally move on and then suggested that he get a waiver or variance. And I think it's backwards, because now I'm living next to a gentleman I don't know, never met, and I'm the bad guy. But I've been, if you folks go home tonight and start a lawnmower and put it in your backyard, I've been listening to that since November 10th. The people who are buying the home right next to it, 9722, I own both of those properties. We had a verbal agreement last year that after January, they would purchase the property. One of the things that I do for my retirement plan is I'm a property manager. So this is one of the last properties I have, and as soon as his trailer pulled up to the driveway, I got a text message with OMG, look at this, and a picture of the trailer. I am now, instead of the original purchase price, I'm now paying $6,000 in closing costs, and I'm putting up enough pine trees to cover the view. Because from her kitchen, she's looking at a trailer camp. And I'm sorry, I really feel bad that people have circumstances where they're out of work or they don't have a place to stay. But I'm listening to a generator. I'm already out $6,000, and I don't know what to do. I need help. And I know Mr. Smears needs help as well.
Great, thank you. So, Mike, was there maybe Ashley, was there a complaint made, which is how this petition came to us?
I was out during COVID when this arose.
Okay.
So I know very little about it.
I have a note from the prior building commissioner that said that this RV was placed there without a variance. I think a citation was issued from our office, which required them to then appear and apply for a variance.
Okay. Are there any other remonstrators for this petition? Okay, if you want to have a seat, I think we have some additional questions. Thank you. So I guess the first thing I'm going to say is, I know that, we use the term trailer interchangeably, so I think I'm saying this is a possibility that there could have been a miscommunication that I have a trailer and it was not designated as an RV. And, certainly all of those mobile homes require a variance. We know that on the board. Not last month, we denied a variance for a motorhome to sit in someone's driveway in Michigan City, as I recall. I'm not sure it's a practice. You know, we have a hard enough time trying to get mobile homes and mobile home parks, let alone trying to get RVs and RV campgrounds. And so that's kind of my feeling on this. It's one of those things that we're not going to get a handle on. And if we start now, I don't think it will just get more out of control. But I'm certainly open to hearing what questions the board has.
I think just looking from the photos that we got from the previous commissioner, I see that there's drain water caps and those sorts of things, managing waste, but how are we managing the waste from residing on the property?
Right, disposal.
Yes.
It's a good point.
The health department went out there and investigated that, and they said that they were okay with whatever they were doing.
I guess the concern is
Do we have any information from the health department documenting that the waste removal procedure is acceptable to them?
We have a complaint summary.
Apparently the health department went out and looked at the removal of waste and all of those things, since it's not in a mobile, in a campground where those facilities are kind of provided for you.
I have a motorhome. I understand the situation, but how's it being?
Can I get you to come back up to the mic, please, so we get you on record?
Yes, how is the waste being handled? The house at 9722 has a well in the backyard.
Right, I have not read the report. I just asked her about it, and Ashley says there is a report from the health department, and they found...
if you don't mind, I have it right here in front of me.
They've found that it would, please, Adam.
So, upon the inspection on December 4th of 2020, excuse me, the inspection was actually on the 7th of January by a Julie Kusin. Met at site with property owner Larry Poole. He has a camper and a generator on the property. There is no well or septic on the system on the property. The sewer and the water line and the trailer have both been capped. There are no signs of sewage on the ground. Mr. Poole allowed me to inside the trailer. I only checked the bathroom, which is not in use and is currently being used as storage, where a couple of bags of trash sitting outside the trailer. Mr. Poole stated that he removes and disposes the trash bags regularly. I took pictures of the trash bags and capped water and sewer outlets. Did not find any health concerns, environmental disasters on the property at the time of the inspection. Close file. To that, I would still say that the concerns are, if we see that there's no evidence at the moment, but we don't actually have any evidence of how waste is being handled.
The health concerns of running water in a bathroom, I'm kind of curious about that.
Mr. Smears, do you own the trailer?
The RV.
The RV, excuse me. And have you purchased the property?
Walter, are you here with us? We have some questions.
You tell Ash.
It's something on his end.
He's connected but barely, but I told you.
I want to go back to in person.
Walter, are you there? Well, Doug, if the petitioner has dropped off, now what?
Well, he's already had an opportunity to present his case, so to speak. I think go ahead and make a decision if you're so inclined.
Oh, I am.
That's saying no, it's not there.
Do it.
Hey, Walter, are you there at all? Call for petition.
Okay, so having heard the remonstrance, And if there's no further question or comments from the board, I will entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and make it then. The petition for a variance of developmental standards for Larry Poole, Seller, and Walter Meyer of an RB for temporary dwelling purposes, and to construct a home later. This property is located between 9854 and 9722 North. That's on 500 West, Michigan City, Springfield Township. Me denied. I don't feel that it's met the health requirements or the living requirements to be there. And I'd say he's gonna have 30 days to get it removed.
Second.
Okay, so
I didn't get a chance to hear anything that was said. My phone's not. Hello?
Understood. We just denied your petition, I think.
we have a motion on the floor to deny your petition and give you 30 days to remove the
RV.
recreational vehicle.
And why was that?
Because it does not meet the health requirements, in our opinion.
As far as what am I
Running
not
water and waste is there running water in there? I'm not gonna do that. We've got a motion and a second on the floor.
I recommend giving explanations.
Right, I have a motion and a second on the floor. And
Okay, I'm apologizing.
All those in favor?
Everything that was said.
all those in favor of denying the petition signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed denying the petition, same sign.
30 days.
Okay, you have 30 days to remove the RV from the property.
Thank you. Sorry.
All right. Mike, is there any further business in front of the board this evening?
I don't believe there is.
Attorney.
Okay, Attorney BG, do you have anything further? Because I do have a question.
No, ma'am.
So my question is, you've been dealing with other boards and commissions with Zoom meetings. What are the ramifications in a situation where the petitioner is on electronically and we can't get response from them?
There's not really a rule on it. I think the question is, did the petitioner give an opportunity to make the presentation? They're not entitled to a rebuttal, although we usually allow them to do so. If the petitioner has an opportunity to make their presentation to the board, that's sufficient.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's nothing further in front of the board this evening, I will entertain a motion to
Motion to be
adjourn.
adjourned.
Seconded.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, guys. Good night.